All right, today we've got Preston Girard, and he's going to talk to us about automated trading and his background experience and how we've worked together. So, Preston, correct me if I'm wrong. I think our first interactions were around 2012. You think that's about right?
Around is correct. I was thinking about it, and I thought the same thing, and then I thought I kind of gave it some thought, and I think it was early 2013, but it
2012.
was
Okay.
because in 2012 I was struggling like crazy, and then 2013 I think I came across a presentation you done. You were doing swing set, and you were doing all that
Mm-hmm.
cool stuff, and I was like, look at all this cool stuff this guy's doing, and I contacted you, and then we had a session. I think that was mid to late 2013 when you taught me automated trading.
Got it. So since 2013, so over 7 years, 8 years ago, you learned that. So you just said a second ago you're struggling before that. So what were you struggling with before you learned automation?
You name it, I was
Mhm.
struggling with it. Mainly options, but I've always been a a charts guy and an options trader, and those were the things that I was really focused on. And you're just for a while, you just don't have your feet planted. You just don't know who you are in the markets. You don't. There's so much information. Everything's so vast. You have no idea how to kind of process what's coming at you, and how to sort of. You don't know who you are. You just don't know how you make money in the markets. And so I was struggling with both. And then when I met you, you taught me some things, not only with automated trading, but also in options. And so you got me going on that, but it was mainly options. And certainly in 2013, I was discretionary stock trading, like swing trading. And then so it was the automated trading late 2013 that was like a huge event, you know.
Yep. Yep. So it's now, just for anybody listening in the future, it's like, what was this recorded in 2014? No, this is recorded in 2021. So we're talking many years now since automation. So what has been your results with automation since then?
I've been profitable automating since you taught me. I mean, it literally has been in 20. So the end of 2013, I started. You told me the best thing to do is to I remember to just paper trade the stuff for a while, get used to it. So we built that VXX, that short VXX system together.
Hmm.
And so I paper traded it, and I watched it, and I made sure like I had the risk allocation that wouldn't scare me too much. And then
Hmm.
I unleashed it in early 2014. It's a good thing because that January 2014 sell-off that happened, I'll never forget that. It killed one of my positions in options. But the thing that brought me back to profitability that year, or I think it may have been, I did so badly in options, I think I broke even. But what brought me back to break even was the automated stuff, was the short VXX. And
Hmm.
also I was automating some commodity stuff. I think I was in gold miners and silver, a little bit of natural gas. That's
Yeah,
the
right.
only thing that did it. 2015 was long volatility from that big sort of that flash crash, the China thing,
Hmm.
and that made me profitable. And then 2016, I started getting more into options like the road trip trade, but I was trading long and short volatility. 2016, 2017, 2018. I became a prop trader during that time, still trading automated stuff. Never had a losing year in automating, and haven't yet, and I don't expect to. So
Hmm. Awesome. So it's awesome to see the pathway. So like the first was something you understand. You understood positive theta, so you understood the yield that comes from options decay. Then we see there's an equity instrument that you can automate to take advantage of that, but be in and out on an hourly basis based on what's going on, which is very difficult with options.
mhm.
You'd have to monitor it all the time. Sometimes it takes you an hour to execute a trade
Yeah,
with
yeah.
options, and this is milliseconds basically. So you took what you knew, which I often want to explain to people. It's like you can try to just automate everything I tell you about, or let's just start with what you know and automate that. So we automated income from the options world. Then about a year later, you started to see the opportunity for actually adding long volatility,
Right.
right? So then you added that. A little bit of fortune in the fact that that became very valuable the following year on that. And now we're starting to talk more about even high beta names and growth. So it's that uh, asymmetric reward opportunity. You found it not in volatility, You found it in silver miners and leveraged. You did leveraged financials too at one point, right?
Yeah, you actually gave me that strategy, FAS and FAZ, and I was trading
Hmm.
that for a while, and that did very well. Yeah.
Yep. So overall, without having to disclose or give away too much value, the overall the complexity of what you automate, would you say it's simpler than you expected or more complicated than you expected?
Oh, it's way simpler. And I'm not a math guy. I'm a musician, actor, that's basically what I am. And so, there's no way that if it was something complicated, especially mathematically, that I would have had to learn. There's no way I would have been able to do it. But I mean, with easy language, that's been a real big deal because they uh, TradeStation developed that so that people who've never coded before don't have to
Hmm.
learn a coding language, like so it makes it a lot easier. You have to sort of learn the logic and sort of learn all the words and everything. But once you study that and get enough experience and talk to other people and get into it, it actually becomes sort of you start to understand it and work with it and put it together and understand how to sort of fix things. Sometimes
Hmm.
I still have to reach out and say, how do you do this? But there are lots of people like in your community too who are great with that. And so it's way simpler. And actually now I still automate UVXC as my hedge.
Hmm.
And I was leading with that for a while, but now it's in the background of my overall
Right.
portfolio. And so now basically the way I use automation is I have Girard Capital Management, so I'm managing money. It's private money, and I'm getting into positions and many of them are actually sort of overlapping what you're doing, which is interesting. But I'm getting into it
Yeah.
discretionarily. I think
Yeah.
discretion
The
is
first, I think the first one. Yeah.
okay, good. So, and the reason I do that is just to get the best price, and then what's great about that is I can have a larger portfolio because I can then put them into their own automated system and sort of work on a trailing stop along a moving average. So basically, what I'm doing in this particular market environment, which is a very big momentum, like seems stretched. There's a lot of things that are like 500% higher than they were at the bottom of the
Hmm.
pandemic crash. Is just following the market. I mean, and I'm following the market very safely because I know based on what I have automated, based on the algorithm, the code, that I understand that when it's going to get out, how it's going to get out, and I don't have to watch everything all the time, which makes it a lot easier. You talk about employees and stuff like that and
Right.
using stocks like that. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it is I'm just checking to see how everybody's doing. If
Hmm.
anybody's got a problem, then I check in and do what I need to do. But it makes it really easy.
Yeah. That's awesome. So yeah, that's a big part of me. Like the what I trade comes from a lot of just hunting.
Mhm.
It's not super systematic, but how I get in, how I get out, that's a clearly defined role that the system has that I know is going to happen and be taken care of for me. And people ask me all the time when they're thinking about automation, and tell me how you felt too at the very beginning. They're like, "What if the system breaks? What if it freezes? What if it, And I'll let you answer. Did you have those concerns when you first started out? Like, I'm just letting a computer trade for me.
Yes, yes, of course. I mean, when you first start out, you just don't have the requisite experience, and so you just think, well, wait a minute, first of all, what happens if this happens? Like that's always the way
Yeah,
you think
right.
about something, when you're starting out, and everybody thinks that way. And then you get enough experience and then you realize, oh, okay, if I just set up like you have to have some backup. You have to, I don't just have one machine that runs TradeStation and then hope that it's going to maintain internet. Like I also have another machine and I always back up. Like if I make
Yes.
a change to my thing, I write it down and then I go in the evening and I make sure it's changed on that in case my internet connection goes down or whatever. And then I can go to that other machine and then I have a hotspot on my phone. If my
Yep.
internet goes down, I can use that for that. I mean, you always have to have that kind of preparation. But generally, I haven't had to use that. There are very few times. TradeStation will, just like any software, sometimes it'll
Right.
do this thing like it'll it'll sort of like blah go wonky and then there's nothing on the screen. But then I just basically restart it. It restarts
Yeah.
fairly quickly. It's not a big deal. And like I said, everything is kind of set up where it's just kind of it's all trend following. So it would take, and it's on a daily time frame. So you're talking about, even if something is starting to meet the criteria of getting out, it wouldn't be till tomorrow that it gets out. So I can just, a lot of this stuff is on a longer time frame. I'm not worried about it. If I go on vacation, I have an employee and other people I work with who I'll just say, hey, look, would you monitor the positions? I mean, you always want to think like that too. Like I think
Right.
you mentioned that you have people that you can call if you're away from the office. Say, hey, would you restart or make sure everything's okay? That's a good idea. Your wife, your husband, whoever to check it for you is a good thing. But it's very rare that I have
You're right.
problems with it.
Yeah. I found if I restart the computer every week, I
Yeah.
have no problems.
Mhm.
The only problem I'll ever have is Windows doesn't update. So
Yeah.
then I walk in, everything's shut down on me. It's like, okay, great. I got to start that up. Fine. And then, or, it'll freeze or something. But I did this for our community. I said, if you're trading manually or you have a software problem, so I messed up the code on purpose. So it would wait 2 bars to actually take the signal,
Mhm.
and the results were almost the same. So it's like, if
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
machine goes down and you don't do
Yeah.
the trade until tomorrow, if your sizing is so big that 1 hour makes a difference, your sizing's probably just too big.
Right.
That's another issue. So another thing I like to tell people is like, just because you filled out the order ticket and sent it, do you realize how much automation happens after that? Like no human being is carrying it down on the floor and making sure and validate. It's like your order is automated
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just adding one tiny layer of automation to what's already completely automated as a process. So
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
I
that's good to
honestly,
hear. Yeah.
objectively, I honestly, because I worked with you for a long time and I'm always willing to sing your praises, but I objectively, even though I'm biased, I really do believe that uh, learning automated trading I mean, I think it's extremely valuable for a newer trader, a beginner trader, or somebody who's struggling. And that's one of the reasons why, as a mentor, I really wanted to try to focus on that and work with you on that in your community, because even if you don't pursue that as what you do when you kind of figure out who you are in the markets, it's a
Hmm.
great way. I mean, all the different things that it gives you, you know first of all, the back testing, where you can do all this back testing through all kinds of different market environments that are different, that affect how you trade. Market environments, changing market environments, are very important for traders. Obviously, it's one of the most important things. So actually having a system you can back test to like 10, 20 years, and then you can go back and kind of look at, oh, what kind of market environment was that? Oh, now I can kind of see why that particular system was affected that way, and it'll really inform you going forward. I mean, some people don't want to look at backtest results as something they can rely on to go forward, because every market environment is different. But it's very educational. Very informative for you as a developing trader to understand that market environments do affect how you should trade in the markets, how
Hmm.
you should trade and invest. So that's one thing. And it's also just letting you get out of your own way. Like, I know that we all like to tinker and stuff like that, but I
Hmm.
think it's really important to have something. That's why it was good when you told me just paper trade it for a while, because I was able to kind of watch it. And even though real money wasn't put on the line, then I kind of understood, okay, I'll put a little bit of money on it to start. And I just need to not watch it all the time, just make sure there's an internet connection, that it's working. And once I was able to, it takes a little while, but you get comfortable with that. And then you feel like, hey, I'm letting my plan work. That's another big
Right.
thing for newer and struggling traders. You have to let your plan play itself out. There's a reason why it's a plan at all, right? So these are really important things. And then again, it's very versatile. You don't have to just be an automated trader. You can just work it into your overall portfolio, your overall approach, as one part of it, which is what I do. So I think it's very valuable, you know.
Yep. I totally agree. I know if I look at all the trades that this machine here takes for me, I look at the list of trades, I look at all the positions, I just know every single time I look, there's zero chance I would do that myself
Yeah,
consistently and accurately.
yeah, sure.
I would cut the number of symbols down. I would not, the sizing would be all over the place.
Right,
I, to this day, would not be able to be as disciplined as
right,
what my plan is.
right,
Yeah.
right.
It's important what you said about letting your plan play out. A lot of times a trader believes a plan is a plan for like a trade, but a plan is the logic statement of if and then,
Yeah.
and letting that play out not one or two or three times, but 30, 40, 50 times before you make a judgment call of did it work or not.
Yeah.
And even after 50, if the P&L was negative, which isn't very exciting, that's not going to help sell anybody on doing this. You can do 50 trades and be negative P&L. That happens sometimes on a specific stock or a specific strategy. Something else will make money in that environment, but that stock may not. But you got to go look back and say, is that the same pattern it's been through in the same market environment before?
Right.
Has it held its own during a market environment that's not good for it? Right. And is it prepared to continue going the next 50? The market might change and then feed you multiples of whatever that loss was. And that's what manually trading, to go through 50 trades and then not change number 51 at all.
Yeah.
Very difficult to do. And I think automation is the easiest way to get that done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, when you're talking about a plan, the great thing about that is that you can watch that and sort of, pay attention to the overall sort of macro situation that's going on and see how it's affecting it. And if you get to a point where you feel that there may be something going on in the environment, like for instance, a pandemic crash, right? And then
Right.
all of a sudden, sort of, all bets are off, and you're thinking, okay, maybe I need to change this up. Okay, is everything is it going to bounce? Are we going to bounce? And then it starts to bounce, and now you're like, oh, now I kind of have to flip sides a little bit, possibly here, see what I have to do. You have to be. It's very important to be flexible, as you know, as a trader, investor in the markets, and what it allows you to do is pull something off and continue to watch, and in a paper trading or however you want to watch it in an environment, to see, okay, maybe I want to give this a break, pull the risk allocation down a little bit. I mean, I'm talking about more extreme things that happen.
Yeah.
Where it gives you an opportunity to still watch that, not have to fiddle around and lose money trying to put a plan. Oh, they tell me I have to stick with it. Well, yes, except during extreme market environments, this still gives you an idea of, oh, that survived that. Maybe I can still have a lot of faith in that, and then maybe I can start legging back into it. It's a great way to also learn how to respond to your environment appropriately.
Yep. And so as an example, going through all that period, all the strategies I trade made it through that period very well with zero predictions, zero hindsight or anything. It made it through, and I'm probably 90%, 95% market bullish. Not meaning I'm always 90% long. It means 95% of what I run makes money on the upside.
Yeah.
And breaks even on the downside because it's flat.
Yeah.
It's flat. And then I have some things that are short in there too.
Right.
So yeah, that's but what I kind of get the sense of you saying is like, you as a human recognizing the vast amount of data and information in the headlines and your ability to interpret that, you have the ability to proactively defend or take advantage of opportunities as they come. And I think that's something you do learn after what, both of us have 10 plus years of experience navigating the market. For most newer people who are just getting their feet wet, you're better off probably just letting it play out. Yeah. If you back tested it through 08, 01, 9/11, if your system made it through those periods, it can make it through the pandemic and make another election, another political or war or whatever else comes along. Yeah. So yeah,
and it can be very educational, like I said, to just, I mean, whether you want to stick with that through it, depending on what kind of system it is you're talking about, or if you want to sort of, catch your breath a little bit if you're a newer trader and sort of nervous about it. I think the most important part of that, especially if you're newer or struggling, is just continuing to pay attention to what's happening so that you understand how to actually stick with things in an extreme environment. Because like we were talking about, it's easy to be worried about, should I allow TradeStation to just take all my trades and like not worry about it? I mean, is this set and forget it or is it not? It's like all these things that go through your head when you're new and struggling. And so I think that having automated trading isn't just necessarily a thing where you're like, hey man, I'm just gonna like set it and let it go, I don't care. It's also a thing that can be very instructive for you if you
Yeah.
pay very close attention to how things are responding, you know.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's something we could probably go on for hours, but
yeah.
like all the times where I've watched what's making money while something else isn't, how
Yep.
the thing that isn't lost very little, and how they ebb and flow in the positions. I see these positions getting put on, and I'm like, well, that's usually bearish trades, and they're being put on when this bullish trade's making
Right.
money. Then I
Yeah.
see the bullish trade close while that one's profitable. I say, oh, there's such a, this dynamic of seeing all these positions coming in and out of the market that I wouldn't have taken because I'm
Yeah.
not disciplined or aware enough
Yeah.
of everything that's happening.
Right.
And the way you put it is really good. How it instructs you
Mhm.
by giving you a new set of information about P&L and volatility of
Yeah.
P&L.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very important. And yes, by automating, even if you took the risk down,
Yeah.
you still see all that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, having a diversified sort of, like you're talking about, a diversified, maybe a set of systems or just a lot of stocks or whatever you're trading at once, like your momentum sort of thing, watching how each one sort of responds to the environment. I think that's very important to again, allow you to be flexible and adaptable. And it's just very educational. I mean, I just think that again, if you're not going to use automated trading as your main thing, when you sort of find out who you are as a trader, it's something that you can always pull from in the past. It's a very educational sort of route you can take. And that's why I think that, like just sort of talking to your students and people in your community, even if you take this, but if you take a class from Andrew or you learn the automated thing that he's doing with the momentum stocks, which I think is a great idea. Um, Even if you decide not to go with that, I think you should do automated trading just to get the experience of it, because again, it was a huge turning point for me. There's no way it's hard to imagine that I would have honestly continued to trade if I hadn't learned
Wow.
automated trading. And I've said that many times because I finally had a system that was working and I could see why it was working. Now I don't short volatility anymore. I do it every once in a while. Since the vol apocalypse, we've all sort of tucked our tail between our legs a little bit and like, well, that's kind of a dangerous trade, right? But I was doing that for a while, and I was doing it within sort of the confines of kind of a safer moving average way of doing it. Now, was it a dangerous trade? Yeah, you could argue that it was a dangerous trade. But the thing about it is that the way we automated it was that it gave it enough breathing room. So even when the Volpocalypse happened, it would have gotten out before that particular instrument I was trading got killed. And it's
Yeah.
because of the way we worked that out. I mean, so that was a very instructive thing for me. It was something that allowed me to continue to work on options and discretionary trading with stocks, while and knowing, hey, even if I'm still struggling with this stuff, at least I've got something that's still working for me. That gave me so much confidence. It was just a huge, thing that kept me in the game, you know.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's transformed me. I came from being profitable but stressed out, and I came from being profitable at a huge level of risk that was being taken. And now through automation, I'm more diversified than ever.
Yeah.
I have much safer positions that still carry large double-digit returns,
Mhm.
but without triple-digit risk
Yeah.
that literally I had to take before to get double-digit returns.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
where I am, it continues to evolve. I have to thank you because even though I taught you some stuff, you carried it forward like getting a baton passed to you. You carried it forward, ran around the track, and then handed it back to me. And some of the things I'm trading right now are innovations that you made to what we worked on. So that's one of my big rewards for working with awesome people like you. So thank you for that.
Hey, you are welcome, but I have a bigger thank you for you, honestly. I mean, I think we've worked together in through the years. I think we're similar. We have similar takes on things, and so and we just respect each other a great deal. And it's always a joy talking to you and working with you. And I'm glad to see that you're teaching this and that you're into automated trading still. I think you and I kind of came to the realization at about the same time. Maybe you a little sooner. You're a little ahead of me, but that that when you're trading market neutral option spreads, it's not that those can't be effective and those aren't good things to trade in certain environments, but the asymmetric risk you talk about, I noticed on some of the recent videos. I think that's a very important thing. I was calling it total risk. I would call it that kind of thing because once I started kind of seeing that profile, I was like, look what can happen. Like I'm trying to make this a little amount of money, and hoping that it doesn't do that. Like, is the what the risk reward is so bad here. And so as you get farther along with your understanding and figuring out who you are as a trader, then you get to the point like you're saying where, and so have faith, people who are coming into this or new and struggling, you do get to a point, if you stay long enough, you learn things like automated trading options and all this stuff, you find out who you are, you get to a point where you understand how to make more with less. You just start to understand how to do that and why that's a huge part of trading, why risk reward and opportunities and having a real understanding of who you are and how you make money. That's really important. And I think automated trading, again, is a really solid basis for learning that, you know.
I agree. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and how it's been very important to you. I'm hoping that others will hear this and it'll resonate with them, and I suspect it will. So thanks for sharing it, not just keeping the rewards and success to yourself. And then also, I know that you've been moving forward and helping other traders and passing it forward and paying it forward. So that's awesome. I hope people have the opportunity to follow you more and learn more about you too.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you. All right. Talk to you later then.
Okay, Andrew.
See ya.